What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Automatic Patient Podcast. I am your co-host today. With me, as usual, Dr. Dan Nelson. Dan, what's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah.
we both got our
matching shirts.
We're wearing our Hawaii shirts today, which is awesome. And before we recorded, I was talking about I'm a little nervous because we got the Category 1 hurricane hitting Kona, which I've got property there, and I have a guest showing up today. So I'm like, oh, good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. He messaged me at 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, hey, what do I do? I'm like, when you land, if you're still going to plan your trip, go straight to the store and get 14 days of supplies just in case. Yeah, good luck. Maybe I'll DoorDash you some stuff because I feel bad because your trip is ruined. That's so bad.
Your trip to paradise is going to suck.
It's going to suck, yeah, probably. Well, I guess it won't be too bad on the Kona side, but it still will be rough. Anyways, so that's what I woke up dealing with today. But today I want to talk. Dan and I had lunch yesterday. He was in town. We hung out a little bit. And you guys are, what, 6 months in being out of network with Delta?
7 months.
7 months now. So let's kind of talk about the current status of what's been happening in the practice and, how it's been for patients, how it's been for the practice owners. And as a coach or consultant, how do you see things?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually 7 months completely out of network. So we're out of network now. We're a fee.
Yeah, with everybody, right? So completely out of network. But Delta was the big one this year that you guys decided to cut, right?
Yeah, and I think for us, Delta would represent because Delta was 51% of our patient base.
Okay, so majority of the patients, yeah.
Yeah, massive, right? So looking at, I think with all the offices that we work with, I would say most offices are probably in that 80-20, 70-30 range where they're
sure.
Some of them are more upward of 100% in their patient base, but being
Do you see that as a risk?
Oh yeah, it's a massive risk.
Because it's our reimbursements are tied to one PPO plan or one company essentially, right? That we don't control.
Well, we've never seen it. Just to clarify, we've never seen somebody be under, unless they're doing Carrington or something like that, which is more
sure.
umbrella anyway. We've never seen anybody just under one insurance, 100%.
Got it.
To one. But that would be a massive liability. That would be huge. But even if you're not, you still have. There's still a lot of liability involved with the changes that are going on because, again, I mean, you have some semblance of control, on what you can do on renegotiations, depending
sure.
on who the insurance companies are. But with the current state, and the reason that and just to be clear why we went fee for service, where we live, and we've talked about this before on the podcast. Before, where we live, our overhead is so high between. Mostly payroll, honestly. It just costs so much to live here. We have to pay our people a ton.
Because you guys are in a higher, I mean, at least what I'm here in Utah, and you guys are in a Park City type economy over there.
Yeah, we're Vail, Park City type, yep.
Yeah, so it's a higher cost of living and all that stuff over there.
Yeah, it's the median home price is double what most people would look at, even
sure.
in the Mountain West, and if you compare it to the Midwest, we're about 3 times as much. So, so you can look at it we work with a couple offices in California, in Southern California. Malibu is the most expensive office we've seen, and
interesting. That makes sense, though.
Yeah, the cost of living here is about the same as Malibu.
Wow.
Except, well, almost. But the reimbursement rates are a fraction of what they get in Malibu. So
would you okay, that's actually interesting. In cities like that, Malibu, Haley, probably Park City, or I'm sure there's a ton of cities we can talk about across the United States.
I mean, even if you
LA, yeah. What do you see most of the practices in those types of cities that they end up going fee for service, or are they kind of stuck?
Most of them are stuck.
The PPO rat race, yeah.
It's awful. We're working with the PPO office right now in San Diego that they are, they're writing off I think we had a couple of them that they're basically writing off 100% of what they're any profitability that was left. There's no meat on the bone. A lot of 70% write off. It was pretty painful to go through the growth report with the owner, and just show them how bad that they're getting beat up. So the difference is that, and this is what people want to look at is even as a fee-for-service office, our UC&Rs are actually lower here because we live in Idaho, even though it's a resort town, because it's in Idaho. And this is what's maddening is that you can say, yeah, I have absolute control over my pricing, but you can price yourself out really quickly too. So you have to look at, like what other offices are charging to an extent, and what we are seeing is like if you take just the top 20 fees in our area, we're actually cheaper than we're quite a bit cheaper than Phoenix, Arizona, or even like Podunk, Wyoming.
Yeah.
We're actually lower there. So we are having to do a gradual increase of our fees. You can't do a big jump.
You can't. No. You kind of would you recommend what percentage?
Well, you should start with so one of the things that we do is, and this is an elevation association, one of the things we do, and you can just contact us, we'll be happy to give you this, is that we can give you a market report for your area, and that includes what the UC&R fees are based on zip code. So it's called zip code pricing, right? So we can give you your zip code pricing, and then from there, we've looked at it and I've gone, it's just not enough where we're at, just to cover everything, even though we are fee for service. So what we would say is take a look at that and then evaluate it based off, go to your P&L and go through your overhead and make sure that you're covering everything. And then if it's still tight, you probably need to do an inch up, just slowly, you can either do it throughout the year or you can do an annual increase. The old dumb rule of 2% annual increase, that doesn't work post-COVID. So you have to take...
Yeah, with the inflation rates. Yeah. No. Well, because I was reading the ADA report earlier this month on the financial state of the industry, and it's like revenue's grown 1.4% over the last 5 years, and expenses have grown 4.9% on average across dentistry. Right now, that's a 30,000-foot view of the, landscape of dentistry. Not every practice is probably feeling that, but you're probably seeing expenses go up. And if you're only doing like a 2% increase in your pricing, it's probably not sufficient to cover the expenses.
No, not even close. And I mean, I talked about this. I think it was on your podcast.
Yeah, we've talked about this a couple times.
Yeah, but we've seen. Talked about this quite a bit, so if you've heard me recently, you've heard me kind of ramble out these numbers, but we've seen upwards of 20% plus on payroll because of the with hygiene primarily.
The
bidding, there was a bidding war in 2023, 24, 25. The hygienist basically, for example, we have an office that we've worked with in the past, again in Southern California, and that poor doc was he had a hygienist that had been with him for 10, 15 years. And all of a sudden he found that he was out looking, it was a male hygienist, and he was out
job hunting,
creating a bidding war for it. And so where he landed was, and I wish I was making this up, he's $90 an hour, $90 to $95 an hour.
Wow.
Is what, and I said, you're losing money on this. And the owner's like, well, I know, but it's a law. I have to treat it like a loss leader because I can't not have hygiene, and it's
sure.
Well, maybe you could find a different workaround,
It's is the doctor cheaper than that now? I'm joking.
That's highest, crazy. That's the highest we've ever heard. But even in areas that were traditionally, significantly lower, and it's settling out now because a lot of the.
It never stays that way. We saw something similar to in my ecosystem here with salespeople in 2021, 2022, where same thing happened. Salaries went through the roof and bidding wars, and it was a joke, right? But they never last, right? They're kind of these booms, and then they're not sustainable. They pop eventually.
Well, and it is a balloon state right now. If you look at the overall, everything's kind of in a balloon state. We're we're still playing catch up. Even 7 years later, we're still behind the eight ball with a lot of things in the economy, and it's affecting the dental world quite a bit. So
Sure.
just all of that, all of the nonsense that we've been dealing with over the last few years is finally starting to settle out a little bit, but it's still
there.
I mean, just think about supplies. If you look at supplies, we've seen an upward between, and it's a big broad range, but anywhere from like 7% increase all the way up again to the 20%.
Yeah, I've seen talking to my dad and my brother at the dental lab. That's exactly what they're seeing too with their supplies, and that just passes on to the patient, right?
Yep.
Into the practice. So it's like, man, yeah, supplies are kind of getting out of whack.
Yeah, so as it pertains to overhead, I mean, it's really imperative right now that the owners are going through and looking at their P&L and making sure, checking their top line, checking their bottom line, and then tracking, being granular and looking down, the line and saying, okay, well, where are we getting abused on our P&L, and what can we do? And that's the difference that we have being out of network, is that we can actually look at stuff and go, maybe we do a $2 increase on, instead of a percentage, maybe we look at our most, the highest volume code that we code out every
okay.
Yep. Okay. So
the revenue producer.
Yeah. We just, we do 1,000, or we do, 4,000, limited or whatever. And let's increase that by $5, or, whatever. And just take these codes that are a low dollar code to begin with and maybe increase it to $5.
Smart. Yeah.
We can do that because we have that freedom where we immediately see that revenue come in, where if you're strapped by insurance, you raise your codes all day, and that does help. And I'm a big proponent of actually keeping up with market inflation and stuff. But at the end of the day, and we get this a lot from docs. They say, well, what's the point? I'm just writing it off anyway. Well, there's a huge point to it. And part of it is market, right? Like you need to push that market. If you don't continue to adjust for inflation, why would insurance adjust for inflation? They'll just tell you to
absolutely. If you're not adjusting for inflation, then you don't, and your market, let's say your zip code is, the other dentists in your zip code aren't adjusting for inflation. The insurance company is not motivated because they're going to look at data of that zip code and say, well, we're doing just fine in your zip code, right? If you're not adjusting, or if I think we've talked about this too, if practices are only recording the adjustments in their practice management system and not submitting their a higher UCR fee to the insurance companies, which happens a lot, sadly. Yep. So no, that's really interesting. Okay, so yeah, don't look at the write-off and say, well, I'm writing it off anyways. Like, I think there's a lot of optimization to do in dentistry, given the state of the industry is expenses are increasing, revenue's not increasing as fast enough, right, for most offices. So no, that's really interesting, Dan. What with from the patient experience going out of network, what's the biggest thing you guys had to change, from verbiage to like mindset within your office? Like, have you noticed a big shift there, or were you guys kind of already doing stuff?
We were already doing stuff, but the biggest shift, what's been interesting with this whole transition, is there's two big. You should have in the years prior be setting up to exit, right? So you start to have conversations and you're preparing the patients for the inevitable change, right? And the reality is you can pretty much predict who you're gonna lose. Like, you can look at it and go,
interesting.
We break ours down by employer. So we look underneath we looked under the Delta umbrella and we said, okay, let's break this down by employer. Who do we have? And
interesting. This is Ryan's in the back doing all this stuff, right?
Totally.
Yeah, I can see it.
Exactly. So we break it down and we actually have an app built into our software suite, our EAOS, our Elevation Association operating system or operating software. We actually have an app that's built in that will give you an insurance analysis. And so within that app and within that insurance analysis, we go and we look and we say, okay, who's paying what under, like, say Delta, for example. There's a lot of different plans that an employer can sign up for. It's not just one, right?
Yeah, sure.
Delta, and that's all there is.
Yeah, they've got many.
Yeah. So, and what you'll find when you go out of network is that some of the plans pay pretty good out of network, like shocking.
Sure.
So what we were able to do with that is we looked and we said, okay, which ones pay sucky and which ones pay pretty good? And you can then look at it and go, well, like for us, it's the school district, right? The school district and the county.
Yeah, of course.
So our police officers, our first responders, our teachers.
So the plan that they're on is good out of network?
No,
it's terrible out of network.
Yeah,
okay,
so
gotcha.
Of course it is, right? Because why would we not treat our educators better?
Right? Jeez.
So, which is frustrating, right? So anyway, we look at that and we go, well, typically, they're going to probably be pretty insurance driven, and so
most likely.
And because their policy kind of sucks out of the network, it's not great in network either, but it's especially bad out of network. We can effectively say we're going to, unless they have, another source of income or a secondary insurance, or the Delta is the secondary insurance, we're probably going to lose a lot of those patients. So we basically can look and say, okay, we need to prepare for impact. What's it going to look like, and how many of these patients can we predictively assume that we're going to lose? Because you do have to expect the worst going into it.
Of course, yeah.
So you have to modify things for that, and adjust for it. And one of the biggest things we do, and this is, I'm beating a dead horse on this, but it's so important, is that we began to really push and build up our patient benefit plan. That was massive for us, because we wanted people that were especially under these. So Delta has a self insurance. It's really bad. It's actually a very,
sure it is.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Most financial products like that are really bad.
It's terrible.
I've never been happy with them.
So they pay too much, they get no coverage. And the group out of the three, between the insurance company, the patient, and the provider, the one that takes it in the chin the most is the provider, right? So the provider has to write the most off, has to make the most consignments and concessions, and it just isn't good. So we looked at that, and we tried to move as many of those people over to our in-house membership program. It was better coverage, plus they could stay with us.
Yeah, it's a direct relationship.
Yep. So we really built that up, and that wasn't just the year before. We've been working on that for a long time.
Oh yeah.
But we pushed pretty hard on some marketing campaigns and pushed it to the forefront of our website and social media to kind of gear that up. But where it really came down to the nuts and bolts was the conversations that you have in the office.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Social media, and we were talking about marketing yesterday at lunch, and
it's all a relationship business.
Yes.
Even my business, like running a software company, is heavy relationships, right? So it's like, the social media stuff helps like amplify or accelerate kind of your messaging, but until you sit down with a patient one-on-one, that's really where it happens.
And we have posters up and stuff, and bifold handouts, and you basically can't turn a corner in our office without running into something about our patient benefit plan or somebody about our patient. So like, it was big that the assistants talked to him about it, the front desk talked to him about it, the financial coordinator talked to him about it, the treatment coordinator talked to him about it, the hygienist talked to him about it.
Yeah.
So it becomes you can't just rely on your marketing to take care of the business. In-house.
Dan, this is how boring I am. I went to some of our practices that were like growing their membership plans like the fastest and the best, right? And I just sat in their waiting room for like hours and just watched the patient journey. And exactly what you're saying is exactly what the best practices do. The assistant talks about it, the hygienist, the doc, and then the front office, right? So it's like, and then of course they got everywhere they turn, there's information about it. So that's what I noticed. I've sat in several offices for a few hours, and I've just watched patient flow. And the doctors are cool to let me do that, right? I'm like, hey, this is a weird request, but I'm kind of a nerd about this stuff. Can I just come and sit? Yeah, like, can I come and sit, and I'll bring you guys like lunch and everything? And I've done that a few times because I guess I'm a geek. I don't know, Dan. But no, you're absolutely right. That's what I've witnessed across multiple practices that are growing really well and taking it a little bit serious. And all these offices that I sat in, that's the plan, is to, reduce insurance completely. So that's the right mindset.
Yep. Yeah. And it's so huge. No new patient And no patient that is either uninsured or is on a self plan or whatever should leave our office without a pamphlet in their hands. I don't care if they have 3 of them at their house. They should every time they come in.
Every time. Yeah. Because that repetition is what's going to get them like, oh, I should switch to this. I mean, I even have a membership plan for myself and all my employees here, right, to the doctor. And then this is how crazy I am. I'm like, I'm not going to do traditional health insurance. I'm going to do a catastrophic plan, and I'm going to build an HSA. I'm not going to touch the HSA for 5 years, and I'm going to build a fund that pays for my health care for the medical doctor and all that stuff, right? Because it's just when you look at these financial products and insurance products, right, they just aren't that valuable to most people. Like, I think my plan, my just regular health plan, was going to go up a little over $2,000 a month, and I looked at like the increase from the year before. It was maybe $1,500 a month, and I'm like, this is insane. I would be better off if I took that same amount of money and put it in an HSA fund and invest it and let it grow over, a 5-year term without touching it, and then going out of pocket, which it's kind of crazy. But that's what I'm doing, because when you look at these financial products and insurance products, they just aren't that valuable anymore, and they're asking patients to pay so much, from dental insurance to healthcare. It's like, what is going on? They're asking so much money, and then they're hoarding the cash and saying, we're only going to spit out a little bit, and then we're going to put the rest in the market and grow it for ourselves, right? Like, it's insane. But that's kind of why I'm like, I'm not doing this insurance stuff. I'm going to build my own fund, because it doesn't make financial or logical sense anymore, at least for me.
Well, and you bring up a good point, is that you can fund your in-house membership plan through others. They can spend their HSA money on
absolutely
that. So it's not precluded from you. So we're seeing more and more patients come in. It's pretty cool, like that are they're signing up for our patient benefit plan, and then B, they're paying for everything through their HSA. So it's cool to see that trend, and it's probably they've probably already been. I don't know if that's like an uptick in actually like people taking out and starting HSAs or what, but
sure.
What we are seeing is that our patient base is increasing. Those types of patients are increasing in our
interesting.
Yeah. So and
well, maybe I should come up be your patient.
Come
come up. I should come up to see you guys.
The other thing that there's a part of this that it's hard, right? Like the exit is difficult, and
sure,
I feel like we're more prepared than just
most practices.
We're consultants, so we should know what we're doing, right? But but the reality is that you can prepare for war, but once you're in war, like war's still hard, right? Like you can be super prepared. We've been really fortunate that we've maintained our course. We've actually just brought in an associate. We opened another office. We've been
congrats. That's awesome.
But the couple things that happen, and I just kind of want to like warn somebody that's like, okay, we're going to go straight fee for service. We're going to jump out, go cold turkey, and jump in.
I've heard practices do that. We a few years ago, we had a practice that called me up. They're like, we're starting the membership plan, and we're cutting everything this month. I'm like, whoa, like, have you prepared for this? Like, nope, we're just doing it. Okay. Learn as you go, I guess.
If you've got, financial reserves and you've got a low overhead, I think that there's ways to do that for sure, where you could cut loose and let it run. But for most of us, we need to have some preparation. And what's going to happen, one of the things that you have to prepare for is to be prepared to pay your hygienist to do nothing. And because you figure, like for us, 51% of our patient base is Delta, right? So we can effectively look at that, and then based out of that 51%, we looked at how many we thought, okay, we're going to lose probably 50% of that 50%. Does that make sense? So 25%.
Yeah, because you got your total patient base of a few thousand, I would imagine.
Yep.
What, like 4,000, depending on your size.
3,000. Yep.
Yeah, and then so 50% of that, whatever that number is, 1,500, and then you said 50% of that cohort.
So 750.
So 750. Got it.
which is what we anticipated. We're like, okay, we're going to prepare to lose 1,500. We're going to anticipate 750. Does that make sense? So
Yep. Yeah.
And what will happen is that you're going to get a lot that you talk to that will say, well, we'll see how the cookie crumbles, see if we can afford to stay here. And there's a portion of your patients that legitimately, when they do their financials, they can't afford to pay for preventative stuff, especially if they have a big family or whatever, and so they
of course
go where where somebody's in network. So those are the ones you're probably going to lose right off the bat. But there are all going to be some ones that love you, love your your staff, and they're going to be like, we're going to try to make it work. They're going to get their first bill. So they're going to come in, you saw them in October, you prepped them in October, and then they come in the next year in April, and now you're out of network. They're going to get their bill, and they're going to go, we can't do this, and they're going to bail. Okay, so you have 2 cycles then of exodus. You have the initial one from, let's say that you have your October. They come in October, and you've got these 2 cycles. You have the one that's like, this is my last time here, I'm not coming again. Okay, so they won't reschedule, which makes it easier when they do that, because then you can actually fill in the spot that their appointment would have taken in April. You can put something else in there, somebody else in there. The ones that are hard are the ones that are like, I think I'd like to try to make this work. So maybe they keep their appointment.
Okay.
They come in April, and they're like, I can't afford to do this again. And so they cut free. So you have to look and say, okay, there's going to be another vacancy.
That makes sense.
The ones that are really tough are the ones that think they want to do it, get cold feet, and bail the week of, the day before.
The silent ones, they don't really aren't talking with you guys. Yeah.
Those are hard, because then that leaves a vacancy in your hygiene schedule.
Got it.
They either they just don't show up, or they cancel last minute, right? And So what we've seen is we're running, for the first 6 months, we ran 75%. I did the numbers on it. We ran 75% capacity in hygiene.
Okay.
So we're typically a 90% capacity hygiene.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Because you do have people get sick, people travel, people forget, people die.
Of course, yeah.
Whatever. And so fallout in hygiene is normal, but we were running about 25% on any given day.
So you're seeing a little bit of decline there.
Yeah, you still got to pay your people.
Still got to pay your people. My first thought is you guys have built a financial safety net with the magnitude of active membership patients that probably aid with that.
Right.
And then 2, the patients that do stay, what is the revenue per patient metric? Is that increased?
Yeah,
right. If you know that, I don't know if you know it on the top of your head.
Oh yeah.
I would imagine you're tracking that with Ryan back there doing all this stuff. Is that what it looks like?
And I would say anyone that's listening to this, go back to a podcast that Jordan and I did on the Automatic Patient podcast. We talked about talked about a couple of key point indicators that are my favorites, and annual patient value is one of my favorite key point indicators. And I believe you were talking we were talking about her last night or yesterday at lunch, that she brought that up. And maybe Mark Costas, you were talking about it as well, and you're going to hear it over and over from the experts in the field, because that's a massive, it's a great way to measure like the value that different people will bring, a patient base will bring into your practice. So
yeah,
to answer your question, our patient benefit plan members, so those people, are worth double what a Delta patient was worth.
Sure.
So, and they're worth about 50% more than a cash patient.
Yeah. The cash patient always surprises me, because everyone idolizes the cash patients, but it's like, it's good. Like mentally, I know how docs think about it, because I've been in the industry for so long. It's like, I got a cash patient. They're my precious cash patient. But then when you look at the data, right, from what you guys are seeing, it's like, from a revenue per patient efficiency metric, they're actually not as valuable as you think, right, from a financial production standpoint.
Yeah, and this is just our office. We've actually seen it in other places, and I believe it was talked about, again, you guys were chatting about it the other day on your podcast, was as much as 3 times as much, depending on your market. So
it just depends on the market. Absolutely.
We were in Alaska we went up for one of our summits, and we did a fishing excursion for one of our CE summits last month in July. And it was awesome. I was fishing with a couple docs from Indiana. And
that's cool.
One of them, he's a freaking genius. Like seriously, one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life. He's borderline savant, and he's like, there's no way that a patient benefit plan member is worth more than twice than a regular patient. I'm like,
a cash patient, right? Is what he's saying?
Then even an insurance patient. I'm
got
like,
it. Yeah,
bro, it's real. And he's like, no way. And I was like, okay. And one of the docs like gets on his phone as we're out there fishing. He's texting his office manager. He's like, can you look and see how much? Right? Yeah. He's like, sure enough, he's like, we're more than double. And the other guy was like, no, there's no way that this is how it is. And so he texted me about a week after we got back. He's like, all right, you're right. He's like, yep. So he's like, tell me more about this. How do I start one? What do I need to do? You know,
so good.
Yeah. But I mean, the reality is that there's this whole, you know, I think they call it the Amazon Prime effect, you know, where it's,
or the Costco effect is what I see. It's like when you go to Costco, you're like, okay, I'm only going to go in for that prime steak because I'm going to go get dinner tonight. This is what happens to me every week. And I go in and I leave with like $300 to $400 of shit that I wasn't planning on buying, right? And I'm like, okay, every time I do this, I say I'm just gonna go get the steak and maybe some potatoes for dinner, and then I come out with $300 to $400 worth of products.
Yeah, it's interesting how your list grows the minute you walk through the door. You're like steak and potatoes.
Like, oh,
like, your wife's like steak and potatoes. You're like, yes, steak and potatoes, and then you get through the door. You're steak, potatoes, and TV.
And TV.
Steak, potatoes, and TV, and
it's like,
watered down set.
I came out with a new PlayStation 5. What's going on? So that new Grand Theft Auto is coming out. I gotta get a new PlayStation 5.
I bought 600 light bulbs.
You know? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's the nature of it. No, that is the effect, right? Because
it is, and that's the psychology behind it. You know, we joke about it, but that's the reality.
It's so true. Like even Amazon Prime, like when they started, their average member was paying like 3 to 4 times more than just a regular Amazon user, and today it's like 6 times more because they just keep learning how to dial it in, right?
Yeah, the model works.
It really works, right? From Costco to, and I know some doctors may be like, well, I don't want to be a Costco type practice or an Amazon type practice. I'm like, that's not what we're saying here. We're saying that this is a more efficient revenue model, both for the practice and the patient. Not you're not becoming like a Netflix dental office, right? Sometimes that's a comment that I hear from practice owners, like, I don't want to be like a Netflix office or anything. It's like, whatever, Blockbuster went out of business, bro. So let's it's like, it's a good model.
I don't know why you'd spit at that, but that seems a little strange.
I mean, we hear lots of different reasons why people may be scared of it, because
it's fear, right? Like,
it's a fear. It's all fear. Like we talked about this on one of our episodes too.
Yep.
Is fear, and even like I had Howard Ferran on one of our shows, and Howard spent a lot of time on fear, which was actually surprising to me, because and it was actually a lot of practical advice from Howard. But he spent a lot of time on fear, and if we could only just get rid of our fear, we'll make better decisions. And look at the data, like what you guys are doing. You're only going to make better decisions for your practice and your patients, right? And that ultimately was like the message there. But I know you and I have talked about this many times.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of that model that I've been working on. That the 5 barriers of success.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and bringing this back to the conversation about holes in the hygiene schedule, because the hygiene feeds your operative side, right?
Yes.
We did create an app. So I got frustrated to the point, and it was kind of freaking out too. It's part of, speaking of fear, there was a point where I was so Ryan meets with our front office, and then he comes back and we have a leadership meeting, and he reports on what we talk about, right? What they talk about. And I would say a lot, hey, tell me what's going on with recare. What are we doing on recare? And he's like, they say they're working on it. And I'd say, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And he's like, well, they're working through lists. And I said, what lists? And so, in Dental Intel, they have lists that you can go through for your lost patients or your recare patients or whatever. And I said, okay, well, how are we working through this list? And it was hard because Ryan's like had a hard time qualifying and quantifying how they were working through the list. So what I did was I created an algorithm kind of like an ACLS algorithm that says,
Okay.
go here. And then I base it off of psychology and communication experts.
Because that's your background, yeah.
My background, yeah. So I said, okay, let's find out what is the most effective way of communication. And what we found was the most effective way by far, 70% better than any other form of communication is texting. People respond better to text.
Yeah.
The other way.
I always do.
Yeah, so much better. So we said, okay, in this algorithm, we're going to create a text message, and it's going to say, and then we put the barriers in, right? So that what are the barriers to keep somebody from rescheduling or getting scheduled? And I created this algorithm, and then Ryan, being Ryan, looks at it and he's like, dude, we can do better than this. And so he actually, again, in our in-suite apps, he takes an app. Yeah.
In the back, yeah, I can only imagine.
Check this out. And I was like, what'd you do? And he's like, oh, you're going to like this. So we actually have an app in our EAOS suite that will allow the front desk it populates the list of any active patients that are not currently scheduled for hygiene, any of them. So, and then we can reduce it down to how many months it's been since they've been in or whatever. But we typically go, active is defined as someone that's been in the last 18 months. So any patient that's been in the last 18 months that is not currently scheduled for hygiene, it populates that list. Our front desk can then click on a patient and start to work the algorithm, and it'll literally send them, they can take the information, send them the first text message.
Yep.
And then based on the response, either they get a response or they don't get a response. If they don't get a response, they get
another reminder or something.
They get 3 text messages before it gets shuffled off into another pile where it says, we're going to leave this dormant for 90 days.
And then remarket it after that?
Yep, come back to it again.
Great.
But
yeah, that's a great system.
Any more time on those patients because they're not getting responses after 3 times. So now what it does is if they get a response, it goes down the algorithm so that they will be able to generate a text. They don't have to think through it. They literally copy it, paste it, text it. And we've seen a huge turnaround in patients that we haven't seen in these 18 months, filling up those gaps. So now these are patients that are okay with us being fee for service, right? And we are actively moving through our patient base. And the boon here for me is that I can pull that app up anytime and look, and I don't need to ask, what are they doing? Because I hate the phrase, they're working through it. I was like, I have no idea what that means. And so now I can look at it and go, oh, they are working through it. They have had contacted, 300 of the patients. They've scheduled 200 of them or whatever. And I can actually, 150 are now in the dormant list, whatever. I can actually look at it, and I don't need for them to come and report and go through these lists of like, oh, we talked to these people and these people. I can see who they've talked to.
Sure.
I can see where it's stalled out. I can see where it's effective. So that's been a huge thing for us because one of the biggest, like I was saying, one of the biggest trials and struggles that we've had from going fee for service is we know we're going to lose patients, but it's trying to fill those gaps up, fill the whole hygiene schedule before they become problematic. And so if you're doing this, if you've exited even any of them and you're struggling to fill those holes, usually you have like a quick fill list or something like that. But at some point, if you're doing a big exodus like we did with half our patients, it's going to be a struggle. You need to have something that's smarter than just I talk about these lists. I love a good data set, but
me too.
An Excel spreadsheet or a handwritten list. So it's something that's been really, again, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So we've been able to create some cool stuff, but. Yeah, that's been a huge challenge on that front. But yeah, I want to go back and answer your question a little bit better too. Of like, how does our communication go? The flip side of the preparation conversations. Now we're on this side of the conversations, as far as treatment planning and presenting. Remember, I'm an Air Force doc. I was in the Air Force.
Yeah.
It wasn't an issue. Like, it wasn't brought up. We did what was ever best for the patient every time.
Sure.
It's a little refreshing to be able to go back to that and go, look, we need to do what's best for you. Here are your treatment plan options. And now it's not dictated, well, will my insurance cover that?
Yes. Yeah. You can be like, hey, this is what you need. Here are the options. Here's, like, if you can't do it all in this month or whatever, you can string it out over a couple quarters. Hi, Dina. Let me. I'm just finishing up this podcast. I'll bring you on in a minute.
Let's go.
Dina's partying with us right now.
Gotcha.
So, thanks. I'll see you in a sec.
That was the ultimate podcast bomb. There's photo bombing. Now there's
We had a podcast bomb. So, a good friend Dina Zos just said hi to us because she's on the podcast next.
It was a slick promo for the next podcast. Like,
Right? Now I got to make sure her podcast follows this one. Yes.
Yeah. Don't make it weird.
Sorry, Dan. Keep going.
No, I mean, that was kind of it. I mean, her timing was excellent.
Yeah. Sweet. Awesome. So just to recap, build the financial safety net is kind of what I've been telling practices that are doing this, right? Like what you guys have done. 'Cause you guys are an excellent example of that. It's not going to be free of challenges. You're always going to have challenges, typically when it comes to hygiene reappointments.
Yeah.
Right? But making sure you have a system, like you talked about, from how you talk about to patients, but also a follow-up system that's robust, so that you're fixing those problems. And then I would also say, we didn't talk about this, but I know how you guys operate. You guys use an operating system. You're probably identifying these problems that you're seeing, and you're solving them as a team, where most practices don't do that, right? And that's a whole other episode I'm sure we can do on how you guys operate, because you guys operate very closely to how we operate here at Boom Cloud. We use EOS. I know you guys have your own doctor version of that, that you guys have developed, which is kind of cool. So awesome. So final thought for our listeners today, like, it can be scary. It's full of challenges still, but it's still an amazing way to practice dentistry. What's your final thought for all of our listeners today?
Yeah, and what I really wanted to get across on this episode was just, that I wanted to address up front the challenges.
Of course, yeah.
But I wanted to be specific about one of the things that we've watched firsthand and be able to pass that on, and that's the hygiene schedule, because that's going to freak you out when that happens. And it's like, there are things that you can be doing, obviously, to prepare for it. So again, the things that you named off are huge, and preparation is huge. But also, like, there's a point where no matter what, I love the quote that Mike Tyson said, that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right?
Yeah. I get punched in the face at least once a year, Dan. I gotta figure it out.
But you should have a plan for when you get punched in the face, right?
Exactly.
And that's the whole thing is that at some point you're going to try to be preventative as possible, but you're going to have to be reactive also. And so knowing the counterpunch is huge, and being able to look at it and say, I'm not just going to randomly be reactive and panic and be led by all these barriers,
Yeah.
I'm actually going to look at this, I'm standing in the face of these barriers, and I'm going to have a reaction that is proactive, that is something that has I'm going to make lemonade out of these lemons. And there are so many people out there that can help with this kind of stuff. And this is what really blows my mind, is how many offices just try to go it alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just try to grind it out, and what ends up happening is some of them slide right back into insurance because they just give up because they're freaking out and they don't let things happen. And the other little tidbit of advice I would give as we're wrapping up is reach out to the other docs that have already done this.
Yeah, I agree.
1,000%. They will be able to help guide you through the turmoil, because there is going to be a lot of turmoil following any exit. So
yeah.
Talk to somebody that's done it before. They're going to give you some reassurance. They're going to give you some guidance. They're going to, be able to point you in the right direction in a lot of ways. And then Judas, work with a good consultant. Work with somebody. And obviously, like, I'm an owner, and a consultant.
Yeah.
But when you work with somebody that gives you those two things, both as a peer but also as a professional, that's going to help you so much. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of
I agree.
Shot there.
I do this with I'm a part of a mastermind. I have a coach and consultant. Hi, Lisa. We're just finishing up. We just We're just having a party today, Dan. Everyone just wants to join the show.
Dan, oh my gosh, I didn't know I'd be on the same link.
I didn't either. Sorry, I didn't know that's how it worked, but that's okay.
A podcast is coming with all of us on there.
It's
it's a party.
We did that. So if you remember, Jordan, we did that. We did a big panel when we were in El Salvador for one of our summits. We did a big panel that we had like James Heaton on there, Mark Costas was on there.
Oh, yeah.
Jared Hill was on there. We had Ryan Isaac, Matt Mulcock. Like, we had this giant panel. So, dude, it's coming. Jordan's going to orchestrate. He's gonna pull all of us together into a single podcast. This is gonna be sick.
That would be actually pretty fun. So we're gonna end here, Lisa. So you're more than happy to chill with us and be a pretty face on our screens.
I will.
But with that said, Dan, I think masterminds are important. I'm a part of a mastermind. I've always been one. You guys do at Elevation Association. You guys do that, and yeah, which is awesome. I highly encourage our listeners to go check out Elevation Association. And if you don't have a membership plan, because membership patients spend way more than cash and PPO patients, come check us out at Boom Cloud. We got some cool things that we're doing to help practices in this time of weird economic stress. So check us out there. And Dan, with that said, man, we hope everyone has a rockin' day.
Right on. Cheers.
Yeah.